All right, welcome on in to the Detroit Lions News podcast. I'm with Darcy, the guy who does the Wednesdays with it, and then the Grit Guys. Grit Guys. Is it Grit Guys? New stuff?
Uh, Gridiron guys, but
Gridiron.
that's Detroit Lions news show on Wednesday.
Yeah, so the Detroit Lions News show, the Grit Iron Guys, that does on Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Donnie
so
and I.
we got a lot to talk about because the Detroit Lions are in first place. Obviously, if you watch that game, it was I don't know how to say it, Darcy. It was a little bit
Nerve-wracking.
nerve-wracking. Yeah, it was
Stressful.
stressful. I think people's heart palpitations. There might have been a couple people
Yeah.
going to the ER, but the Detroit Lions win. They win in a really good, 29-31 win against the Minnesota Vikings. They gain first place. Obviously, you look at like the standings. They're first place. Green Bay won today, so that doesn't help the matter. But they were idle today because they had a bye week, so they're going to stay there. But as long as Detroit takes care of business, which this game was absolutely huge because I was talking about this game with Walt and Ashante and Avery, and then I was talking with you guys Wednesday. This game was huge from one standpoint. They got the Tennessee Titans coming in, which is a guaranteed effing win because the Tennessee Titans suck. Because I watch Tennessee Titans and I know people that watch Tennessee Titans religiously, and they say the Tennessee Titans are looking at it like they're a number one overall pick team. So that's what's going on in Tennessee. Obviously, they can stop the run, but that's next week. This week, you played the Minnesota Vikings. This was for first place. You look at Minnesota's schedule going down the pike. Very easy schedule going down the pike. They got a 3 games before they actually play real competition.
Mhm.
So this game was absolutely crucial in terms of for Detroit because they got a couple tough games coming up with Houston and Green Bay. So those are going to be some tough games. But this game here, the Detroit Lions, they win this game. And then also we're live on the Villain Squad. So thank you to the Villain Squad people, Russell and everybody. So that's what it is. Darcy, what's your thoughts?
Wow, that was an evenly balanced match. I don't know if you checked out the stats, but man, like we were matched basically the time of possession, first downs, yards,
Turnovers.
yeah, turnovers, everything. It was just came right down to the wire.
Yeah, if you look
Fumbles
at these stats though, like they're on the screen right now.
Yep.
391 at 383, 7 yards per play for each team. It was 7.4 for Minnesota, 7 for Detroit. 247 passing yards to 244 passing yards, 144 rushing yards, 139 rushing yards, 19 first downs, 16 first downs for Minnesota. Detroit had a fumble loss, interception for Minnesota. So the turnover battle was just a 0. Penalties, both teams had 8, which is very even, and that's good to see because you usually don't like to see it one-sided. Penalty yards, they had 59, 49 for Detroit, and time possession was virtually like the same as you just said, Darcy. Like this game that we talk about today, it was such a back and forth kind of game. And then you think about it like this. The Detroit Lions, they had a lot of how do you say? There was a lot of times in that game I thought they went like cold, like the fourth quarter for a bit. First quarter was absolutely dead cold. Taylor Decker had a rough game. I'm interested to see how many pressures he gave up today because he looked awful today.
Awful.
But they find a way to win. That's the main thing. Like, it's fine that you can't win games when you're not playing your best game. Like I'll take that. But when you don't allow yourself to lose the ball game to a team that you have to beat, when you're not playing your best ball game, I mean that's on coaching right there. You used to be a coach, and you could say that respectively. Like if you coach a team the right way, they'll win without playing their best game. That's the way it should work. Like you can't always play your best game. It's just not humanly possible with all the humans on the field. So, or the ice or the court. Any sport you play, you can't win it with just playing perfect all the time.
Yeah, they really wanted to, keep it basically like with your guys' show. Walt hit every nail on the hammer or hammer on the nail. It was we attacked the middle of the field. We ran the ball great. Jahmyr Gibbs had 2 touchdowns, I do believe, 116 yards, 44 yards passing. What a great game. Brian Branch, man, that second quarter, we just take over the second quarters. These Detroit Lions, that's their game. We get up, we play smash mouth football. They can't stop our running game, and then we marry the run from the pass, and that's how we win. It sucks that Branch almost had like a fumble recovery and went the other way, but you know, you look at Monty. He had a brain fart there, and he'll bounce back from it. But I can't wait for Tennessee, and then we go into Lambeau, and we're going to smash those Green Bay Packers.
You know what's the funny part about it is, like, someone this week said something about the Detroit Lions haven't had a fumble all year, and I was like, oh, please don't say that.
Yeah.
Please. So anytime someone ever says this guy has never had a fumble, I'm like, oh, there we go. Like, we're gonna have a fumble this week, and it was just so happened that I was on a Minnesota Viking podcast, and they said that to me, and I was like, oh shit. And then when they fumbled the ball, I was like, oh my god, this is not happening. But then, you know, Gibbs took over. I felt like Monty, like he was dealing with an injury. So, you know, it is what it is. I'd sit him down next week. You don't really need him next week, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the Tennessee Titans, and I just look at them like, this is a good week for a little bit of, you know, pump in your step. You know, they're gonna come in here. They could stop the run, but they're not really good overall. Their offense is awful, and the defense could really take advantage of that. But
right.
That's what I look at. And then, you know, the first game without Hutch, this was an interesting stat. Without Hutch today, they had 4 sacks and 4 tackles for a loss and 5 QB hits. A lot of the sacks came from, you know, you had sacks from Jack Campbell, Malcolm Rodriguez, Trevor Nowaski. You had a sack from Josh Pascal, who looked like he was injured, so that's something to monitor. But all in all, like, the Detroit Lions, they came out, they played their best ball game when it counted, and it's what they needed to do. And I looked at this and I was like, the guy who really deserves a lot of credit in my eyes is Jared Goff. You know, this is what the last 4 games he's been on an unreal pace: 76 for 90, 1,086 yards, 9 TDs, 1 interception, a completion rating of 84.5. When have you ever seen 84.5? Just
wow.
Unbelievable. And then if you go look at this is the Lions have Jared Goff has posted a passer rating of 140 plus in 3 straight games. He's the 4th player in NFL history to do so, joining Aaron Rodgers, Kurt Warner, and Roger Staubach. And anytime you can join that group of people, I think you're doing something right. Like, I think you are doing something right.
So what are you hinting at? Are we talking MVP candidate?
I mean, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, yeah. Like, if he goes to Houston, if he goes to Green Bay and he goes to Houston, he does the same thing. You're going to start to see a lot of people. And what I found interesting, though, is I do follow the betting markets, and one of the things that I did see from the FanDuel and everything, he was like plus 3,500 to win MVP like 2 weeks ago. This week he was at plus 2,100, so he went up a considerable amount. So there's people that are putting money on him to win league MVP, and that's something that's very, very interesting. But here's another stat, Darcy, because me and you, I know you're older than me, so we're just gonna go with that. But this is the first time the Detroit Lions have started 5-1 in consecutive years for the first time since moving to Detroit in 1934.
Whew.
That's a stat that you go, wow. So me and you combined, we weren't alive in 1934, so that is what it is. We got another person that's joined the Detroit Lions News podcast. It's Donnie Cleary. Let's go.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going, guys? Big win.
That's my co-host there on for Tuesdays. Iron guys.
Right.
What'd you think of the game, Donnie?
I thought it was exciting. I thought we had times where we struggled a little bit on offense, getting her going. But overall, man, we look solid, especially running the ball there late.
Yeah, I thought the most enjoyable thing about that drive was the clock management. I think that's one of the most important things. Like, Greg Olsen was having a coronary over here, be like, why are they not being so fast? Well, if you go fast, you can't run the clock like they did out. Like, that was major because it didn't really allow the Minnesota Vikings to get down the field, because we seen that they got down the field pretty quick at the 50-yard line late in that game. So running that clock out was like a huge part of that game.
Oh, absolutely. I got a little upset there on that first kneel. I was like, I don't understand why we're kneeling the ball. We could run the ball and, kill more seconds off the clock. But, man, they had a plan. I couldn't believe it worked. But, yeah, what a win.
I thought they were going to, at least try to put Bates on the left hash, because that's where he prefers it. And I said to my wife, I said, oh, my God, they're just taking a knee. They should kind of slide it over and do what Donnie says, run it to the left behind Glasgow and try to get him on the left hash. But At that mode, everybody's just trying to punch the ball out. So that's why I understand that. And I don't understand why you wouldn't kick the ball in the landing zone, so they'd have to bring it out to kill probably about 6 or 7 more seconds off that 15.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that penalty at the end, because when it's Detroit and we get a penalty called against us, it's a 10-second runoff if you have no timeouts. I just didn't understand that rule, and I have to get better at that.
I think it was because it was a dead ball, in my opinion, but I could be wrong. But I didn't understand the rule at the first. I don't think Dan Campbell understood the rule, because you could see he was pretty pissed off at it too. But the NFL has so many like rules that are like rules, but they're not like concrete for certain situations. Like I think that's what they do wrong in terms of the NFL and the roughing. But it was.
And I hope
very
the fumble don't discourage Montgomery either. You know, that's a heck of a play, man. I mean, it happens.
I was telling Darcy earlier, like I was like, look, like the Detroit Lions, like I was on a Vikings podcast with a Green Bay guy and a Vikings guy that was like a border divided type thing. Anyways, they were talking about how we haven't fumbled all year, and I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna fumble this week for sure. I didn't think it'd be like that, but look, you're going to fumble once in a while. I understand it. I think anybody who's played the game can understand it. Like, you're not going to be perfect. Like I was telling Darcy before you joined the podcast, it says something when you don't play your best ball game and you still win. I think that's the most important thing about this game was they didn't play their best game. Not in any clue that they play their best ball game. But when the chips mattered, they went in and they won the game. That's what I take as the most important thing about that, in my opinion.
Right. What a gritty game, man. Gritty performance by the offense and defense.
So this is how we coach it. We call it chicken claw, chicken wing, and cross.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what David has to work on.
Right. Yeah, I think okay, in the NFL, it's like hockey. It's like hockey with certain things. Like when you can't protect the puck as a hockey player, you're kind of stuck. And if you don't learn to do that, you're gonna make some mistakes. Football, same thing. When you're a running back or a wide receiver, even a quarterback, like if you're I thought what Jared Goff did in the pocket where he held it with 2 hands when he got hit, I thought that was A1. That was IQ that was just spewing out of him, because that's what you kind of expect out of a veteran player. You know what I'm saying? Just to protect the ball. You don't have, sometimes if you're going to get less yards, I could take it before a fumble, but Monty is going to be fine. I think Monty is going to be fine.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
Yeah, people are talking about Roy is talking about Lions kicked it off once and it went off the return's hands and bounced the end zone. The ball went out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
So that been a safety. I think because of the new kicking rule, if it hits his hands and it goes in, the new kicking rule screws everything up. It's not going to be a thing next year because they're probably going to squash it because that thing is stupid as hell.
See, it landed in the landing zone, so now you get it at the 25 instead of the 30.
Yep.
So I think they're trying to get these guys to run it out, but I thought it was a safety too.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a safety, but then I was watching someone on the Twitter or whatever, and he was a rules expert. He was like, no, it's because of the new rules or whatever. Because the old rules, if you touched it and it went in the end zone, then it went out the back of the end zone, with safety. This time it's more, if you touch it and it goes into the end zone, it's not a safety, which I don't understand. I think that's stupid.
Right.
Anthony Pritchett says, so now we beat Minnesota, do we not go after another defensive end? I was thinking if we lost, we would sign a big name, and if we won, we would keep what we have and go from there. What do you guys think about that?
We still need to sign somebody. Yeah. I don't care if he's middle tier. He don't have to be a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby like everybody wants. We need somebody. This to help this rush, man. We got a couple sacks today, right? Four today?
Four
solid,
sacks.
Very solid. And I love the scheme that Aaron threw at them. But in the long haul, I believe we need at least one guy to help out.
Well, Darcy, you can go next, because what I'm going to say is I don't think this is sustainable. And with Josh Pascal going down, I think that's the most, that if he's hurt for a considerable amount of time, they had no choice, in my opinion.
Well, it looked like it was his wrist. I think the second one was on second down, they were really hurrying it up, right? So I think the coaches told him on the sideline, if they go and hurry up, then just take because it wasn't in the 5-minute mark, right? So you're not going to have to use your timeout. So I think that because he came on 2 plays later again. So that's the old I'm hurt.
Yeah,
Stop the clock.
All right.
Do you remember the old days? They go, oh, and the coaches are giving him a signal. He just falls down.
Well, yeah, it's like the Old Miss. What they do is they're known for doing that too. So Donnie knows what I'm talking about because he watches a lot of college football. So
It's been a disaster here where I'm from, but yeah, I watch a lot of college football.
Not looking good for Michigan either.
Yeah, that was tough yesterday. I watched some of that game.
MSU won, so I'm happy. We got Aiden Childs. He's gonna be good player. Daniel says, and this is okay. People in the comments, you need to understand. None of us said that the fumble was like a bad fumble. Donnie perfectly said it. Darcy perfectly said it. I said it. You're gonna fumble. But Daniel says, "Come on, man. He fumbles once in his Lions career. What do you mean he's got to work on it? You always got to work
for
on
me. Yeah.
You always got to work on everything.
I'm a running back coach, so
exactly.
I have 3. I have 2 running backs in the NFL right now.
Here's what I say. Yeah, one's playing right now. Tua. He needs to get me 70 yards. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Chase Brown too.
Oh yeah, Chase Brown too. I forgot.
I just picked him up in one of my leagues.
Who, Chuba?
No, Brown. I got. You talking about the running back for Carolina?
Yeah, and then the one from Cincinnati. Yeah.
Yeah, I got both of them. Yeah, they're good running backs.
Yeah, they're
nice
good
job, Darce.
Yeah, good job, Darcy. See, Darcy knows what he's talking about. So you people need to stop.
Yeah, listen.
Anybody?
Nice horse, though. I like that horse. You got a nice looking wife, Daniel.
But if Roy says, but if it went off his hands on a kickoff, it's a fumble. It's that kickoff rule is garbage. Everyone says it's garbage, so we don't need it.
Ted Rath is going to come on Wednesday, so we'll ask that question to him.
Yeah, that would be a good question to ask. Maurice says we still need someone to help. I think we all agree with that we do need someone to come in and play defensive end. I'm looking at this Zadarius Smith, to be honest. I think he can come in and be a contributor right away. Maybe next week you end the game with Tennessee and you say, all right, Harold Landry, you're staying in Detroit. That would be I'd take that too. I'm sure the Tennessee Titans would take that too because they're awful. Gibbs, Roy says Gibbs is unstoppable. What a back! I think that's something that we talked about with the rushing. He had 144 yards. Wait, I gotta take this comment off. What a rookie move, right? That. All right. Jameer Gibbs 15 carries, 116 yards, 7.7 average, 2 touchdowns. He had a long of 45. Like it goes back to what this guy says right here.
Why does Maven have? Why does Maven have?
Because the fake punt.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. That didn't work out well, did it? Weren't you guys pissed off about that?
Yeah, that was a pretty brutal move. But I think Campbell was just trying to inject some enthusiasm in them. Because I think that first quarter, man, they were like on Quaaludes. I don't know what's happening with that man. It was awful. Like they were just going out there and they were like, I felt like the offensive line was ass in the first quarter, like horrible. And then second quarter, third quarter, they turned it on, and fourth quarter they reverted back to it. I don't know. Maybe it's a jet lag from Minnesota or something. Jeff says Montgomery is beast. This was by far his worst game as a Lions player, and he'll bounce back and lead the team like he has from day one. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, me too. You got 2 great running backs. What is his name? Sonic and Knuckles?
Yeah, Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So they're not going to be great every week. This is not the era of Barry Sanders, my favorite player.
Well,
you got to have 2.
Sorry.
You're good.
Well, if you look at it, Gibbs had what? 114, 115 and 44. So he was over $150.
116.
Yeah. Nice.
Wow.
So again, you guys the running backs could have a bad day, and then one of them just picks them up. That's why it's good to have depth. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this team, like when one's not going really good, like I think Gibbs wasn't going good against Seattle, and Montgomery was the guy that was going there. So one of the two is going to pick each other up. That's what they talk about when they're doing that interview with Fox Sports. They were saying that like they don't look at it as like competition between each other. They look at it as like, all right, one's not doing it, I gotta do it. That's the way they look at it. And I love that philosophy from them. That's great. Comments. There's some more comments that I'm gonna get to right now. Looking
Hang on.
forward to the remaining schedule. Which one do y'all have highlighted as a game for the number one overall seed? I think it's a little bit too early to talk about that. But to be honest, I think today was a huge game in terms of the division. You just gotta focus on the division first, and then look at the number one overall seed. That's all gonna take the case. But who do you think?
2 games from now, the Packers. 2 games from now, we go into Green Bay. That is monstrous, man. That's a huge game on the road. If we can do it again, we slayed the Cowboys. We survived the Vikings. Uh-oh. That didn't work out for me, did it? So sorry about that, guys. I don't
You're
have the
good.
setup you guys have. Okay. Let's see if we can set it up there. Anyways, we can go into Green Bay. I don't care if we win by 1 or 2 like today. That's huge. That's going to be huge. I look at that game being a monstrous game because our schedule, of course, we're the best team in the North, or we won the North last year, so we have the hardest schedule. If you look at some of the schedules of the other guys, man,
Minnesota's
cupcakes.
got it. Yeah, I know. Minnesota's got a really easy schedule. I'm like,
Yeah,
they already
I-
beat
I
San
look at
Fran already. So
Do you think
Yeah, look-
Nico Collins can take off that game and we play him in a few weeks?
no, he won't take that game off. I
He'll
don't
be
know
back.
why. Next week the Packers play the Jags, so that's a confirmed win. 'Cause they're awful. The Jags are awful too. That's another team that's awful. But you look at the Vikings schedule, like I was saying, this is the reason why this was so huge. Was this week they play the Rams on Thursday night. We all know the statistics on the Detroit Lions when they play a team that they lay an egg after they play Detroit. I'm hoping that stays the case because you look at their next 3 games, and I'm telling you right now, in November they got the easiest schedule I've ever seen in my entire life, lead up to Thanksgiving weekend. They got the Colts, the Jags, and the Titans, all AFC South teams that are absolute balls. So it's like, man, you look at the teams that the Packers and the Vikings are playing. Like, I think the Bears have a harder schedule than the I look at the Bears schedule. They got the Commanders next week, which is easy, and then they got the Cardinals and the Patriots, and then they play the Packers and the Vikings. So there's a lot more tougher because I think the Commanders and Cardinals will give them a game, especially going to Washington D.C., going to Arizona. Those are 2 games, but if you're a Lions fan, you're rooting for LA and Stafford Thursday night because that'll give you a little bit of grief because then you go to Green Bay next week, and then the week after you play Tennessee this week, which I think is a win, and then you go to Green Bay, which like Donnie said, that's going to be a huge game in terms of the division. Yeah, a huge game in terms of division and the number 1 overall seed, in my opinion.
So when is the deadline? When's the trade deadline?
The deadline is November 5th. So the Detroit Lions would play. I'm gonna go right here. The Detroit Lions. Before the trade deadline, they will play the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. At Green Bay. Then November 5th is the trade deadline, election day. So, so you got 2 weeks to do it. I kept telling people on the podcast, on the page, a couple things. I didn't think Brett Holmes was going to do a trade this week. I think it's way too early. I think he was trying to see what he had and kind of go after it. Looking at what he had this week, especially if he had a really good edge rusher, I think that if he had an edge rusher, they win this game comfortably. I think if they got more pressure, they had to send a lot of blitzes to get pressure, so that's why they did that. But I think in the next 2 weeks they're going to be looking at trades, and one guy in the comments, Isaac, he says, can the Lions get Chase Young from the Saints? And I think they can.
Yeah, I believe so, Phil.
The Saints are ass this year. They're falling apart. Rashid Shaheed, he's out for the year. Derek Carr is out for a couple weeks. And they're just falling apart at the seams. So, and they lost in a very convincing fashion to the Denver Broncos, who I would say is not really that good, but it is what it is. But Denver Broncos beat them pretty handily. So if I was going to look at the Saints, I'd ask about Carl Granderson, to be honest. That's the guy I would ask about because I think he's a way better option. I know people are looking at Max Crosby and all that stuff, and I hope that they can get Max Crosby, but I don't see why the Raiders would trade Max Crosby.
In a perfect world, we would get him.
Not with Bargain Brad.
Right.
No,
Um,
I think you're gonna see. I think you're gonna see Brad Holmes go out and try to make some moves. It's just whether he did it. He wants to do it. I heard. Okay, so this is what I told you guys on the Wednesday podcast. I think I told you, or I think I told Walt yesterday. I don't know, but I know there's 111 people listening to us right now, so I'm just gonna say it right now. I know for a fact, absolute fact, Brad Holmes inquired about Montez Sweat last year. No, for an absolute fact. He was ready to give up a first-round pick for Montez Sweat. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. The reason that it didn't get done is because of your former general manager, Martin Mayhew, was the general manager of the Commanders, and he would not do business with the Lions at all. And that's why he got fired, because the new owners of the Commanders were like, wait, you didn't take a first-round pick from the Lions? Like, you could have – that's way better than a second-round pick. That's why he got fired. That's what the deal was. And that's why he went to Chicago. When the Brad Holmes said he was going to Chicago, he offered up a first-round pick. So I think that Brad Holmes is going to go out there and try to make some moves. It's just a matter of, do the Raiders want to sell Max Crosby? I don't think Myles Garrett's going anywhere in Cleveland because they can't afford that type of salary leaving their team. I think it's like a $25 million cap hit if they lose him, and they're $4.7 million over the cap right now. So,
so what do you guys do? Like, you guys realize we don't have a third-round draft pick, right? So we're not going to be we're going to be like the Rams like 3 years ago and not even be drafting till the second half of day 3.
Well, it depends who you go. It depends who you go get. Like, let's say you got a Darius Smith and you give a 5th-round pick from. You really gonna get mad about that? And then let's say he goes out. Let's say he goes out the next week and says, "I'll give a 2nd-round pick for Harold Landry." Like, that could be the case too. So it's the way it works out. I'm not really worried about draft picks because we just saw Brian Branch, who they drafted in the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
He's the best player on the ball field. So I mean, Kirby Joseph was a 3rd-round pick, best player. Am I wrong? Like, the draft picks I'm not really concerned with right now because I think that Brad Holmes could do some magic with some of the late-round picks and some of the picks that he does have. I think he'll put an emphasis on that.
Well, look at this draft class. How many of our picks are playing? Arnold is the only one that is starting. Usually the first 3 rounds, you're usually starting in the NFL, sometimes the 4th. Or if you're like Rodrigo, what was he in the 6th?
Well, let's be honest right here. I think that's more of an emphasis on how good the team is compared to how good these rookies are. Because let's be honest, like if you got a rookie that's starting, how many times in Detroit Lions history have we started a lot of rookies and we were ass? There's a reason for that. They're not ready to play. So a lot of those guys, they're not ready to play. Like, we started Derek Barnes pretty early. He wasn't really ready to play early on. I think his first year was a struggle. Rodrigo, he was pretty good his first year, but usually you get these rookies and it's like the 49ers. Like, I'm watching the 49ers and their 2nd-round pick is just playing right now. He's not even like Drake Jackson from USC, who is one of the best pass rushers in the college football. He didn't start till he is not even starting on the 49ers. So I think that tells you more about the team than it is the rookie that they drafted.
Isn't that a great feeling, eh? Isn't that a great feeling?
Yeah, when you don't need your rookies to be like help out for right away, I think that's like the best like feeling in the world, in my opinion, because you talk about the being able to just develop these guys. You know what I'm saying? I think if you put them in a situation where they got to go play football and at the NFL level, and they got to go play guys like Terrion Arnold's getting trial by fire. He's playing Justin Jefferson. He's playing DJ Moore. He's going to be playing DK Metcalf. He played DK Metcalf and Mike Evans, and I think he played Puka Nacua too. So like all those, that's the trial by fire. He had to play because he's a number 1 1st-round pick. But some of these guys like Mekhi Wingo, he's coming along in his rookie year. I think he's going to get more and more playing time as we go because he's been playing really, really good. I'm interested to see the stats on what he did today because he had a lot of quarterback pressures, in my opinion.
Do we count that last sack?
Yeah, that's Nowatzki's. Yeah,
we count it.
Yeah.
No,
and then
with the Hail Mary, I didn't think they were going to bring that many guys on that play, but I thought they were going to definitely play just a prevent. But
you know what I thought was interesting about that, and Darcy and Donnie are joining me on the Detroit Lions podcast post game. But you know what I thought was interesting about that was God, what was I gonna say? I thought it was interesting they sent someone number one, like you just said. And then I thought it was interesting that they didn't play a prevent type defense. They had two guys in the middle just waiting for someone to throw it over the middle, which I thought was smart because if you think about it, remember that stupid ass game where everyone's gonna remember this game now, where Green Bay, Mr. Jim Caldwell, which I think he was a great coach, but he played his time out here in Detroit because this was probably the end to do, but he thought they were going to do that pitch back and forth kind of thing with the Hail Mary against Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what they know this was the right time to play it because Sam Darnold don't got the arm that Aaron Rodgers has. So you kind of play for that pitch back and forth kind of thing and you'll be good. So that's what I thought that was right there.
Yeah.
It's a good day when you could keep Justin Jefferson under 100 yards. What was it, like 81 yards or something?
Yeah.
81 yards, 7 catches, 81 yards, 1 TD.
See, if you could do that, I mean, there was a lot of people. I think one of the most I looked at a lot of prop people that were doing like the props, the NFL props, and one of the props that people were throwing out there was 100-yard plus for Justin Jefferson. That didn't really work that well for them. So that was a good job by the Detroit Lions defense. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier in the podcast. Like Brian Branch and this guy Kirby Joseph, like they are playing out of their effing mind, man. Like this was a stat I had in the pregame last game. Their overall Branch, I wonder what their stats are now, but Branch was they were both top 2 in ball hawk rate, which I don't think it hurt that Branch got an interception today. The percentage of targets faced in which the defender made a play on a ball, pass defense, or interception. And when you got guys like that are patrolling the center field kind of thing, that's really, really good, man. That's fantastic.
Did you notice Kirby Joseph let up on that touchdown pass to Addison? You could see there's something going on there. He was a little bit injured. What was his injury all week?
He didn't have an injury. Maybe injured something in the game.
The week before he was on the injury list.
I think it
was a hamstring.
It might have been a hamstring. Let me pull it up
because he laid out on that big field, big chunk play basically to Addison. That's not like him. That's not like him.
So last year we had Cam Sutton, and he struggled, right? Remember that guy's horrible.
Yep.
How you guys loving Carlton Davis? That guy's physical, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He's good.
Passionate.
Very good.
I love Carlton Davis. I think he's been way better than people think. I mean, when you talk about Carlton Davis and you talk about this team, like they stopped the run at a really good pace. I think today was their worst rushing defense game, which tells you all about maybe missing Hutch or maybe not. Maybe it was just Aaron Jones but Sam Darnold counted for I think 24 yards anyway. So
34.
34? All right, even worse.
Check again. 39. 4 carries for 39.
Yeah, but what I thought about Carlton Davis is obviously he's going to have some rough times out there because of the receivers are going against. I mean, the first 3 games that you played, you were going against Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, which they're underrated in terms of Marvin Harris as a rookie, and then you had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Second game was Godwin and Evans, and then the first game was Nakua and Cooper Kupp. So you're good. You're good there.
Yeah.
But Cooper Kupp, Nakua, then that last week, what was last week? That was that was the Seattle game, right? No,
last week was Dallas. So he had Lamb. He had
Lamb. So
Lamb.
That's what I'm saying. You're going against some of the top receivers in the game. I had a brain fart, but you're going against some of the top receivers in the game, and you're faring out well. I mean, like Lamb is one of the top receivers. Jefferson's one of the top receivers. DK is one of the top receivers.
Right.
Nakua and Kupp or Evans and Godwin. That's some really good competition right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to put Arnold. You don't want to put Arnold on a number 1 as a rookie, and he's hand happy. He wants to grab and touch. It's that Alabama physicality, right?
Yeah, but also you don't want to put him against number 1 because those number 1 receivers will kind of put him out the pasture because they'll do stuff that he isn't ready for, and he'll get a little grabby, and they know that he's going to get grabby, so they ain't gonna do it. I thought I thought Arnold on Addison was one of the most interesting matchups because Addison was pretty pretty bad today. Wasn't really good.
Right.
Other than that
So-
one play.
Right.
Yeah, that one play. But
So what do you
the
guys
Detroit
think?
Lions,
What do you guys think? Power rankings? Are we if Kansas City loses tonight or today? When do they play? At 4?
yeah, they're winning 14-3 right now, so I don't think they're gonna lose. But I think
Okay,
you got to
so-
put Detroit. I think you got to put Detroit 1 or 2. That's the only way I think.
Kansas City wins. Yeah.
Because they had Minnesota last week at number 1. So
Right.
I think if you're gonna put a lot of emphasis on the game of the week matchup, because a lot of people figured this is what's the game of the week, Minnesota Detroit. I think you got to put a lot of emphasis on the game. I don't really think San Francisco is the same football team without McCaffrey. So when you look at that, I go, okay, put Detroit over Kansas City for this week, and then Kansas City can earn it back next week. That's power ranking. It's all right, but that's how I would rank it, to be honest.
Right.
Any team that won this game, it felt like this game was like the most like important game of the season for both teams. And I feel like Detroit winning this game was massively important because of the schedule.
Right. The news on Hutch was great. Did you guys hear it was a clean break?
Yeah.
Nerve damage, no artery damage.
Yeah, that's good. That means that means he can come back a little bit quicker, and there's no
Mhm.
risk of infection and everything like that. So that's good.
The dude's a
Very
specimen. I expect it, man. I expect when we get late in the playoffs for him to come back and be Hutch.
So if you guys tune in on Wednesday, Joe and I are doing a show with Ted Rath, and he's a former 16-year head trainer. He's worked for the Lions between 2009 to 2016. He worked for the Rams with Sean McVay. He's worked for the Eagles. He's going to be coming on, and he's going to explain that injury. So he told me if everything, like Donnie just said, 3 months. So you could see right around Christmas time, get your hopes up. Get your hopes up. He'll be on that sideline. He might be in one of those air boots, but
Yeah.
It'll be interesting what happens there.
Yeah, definitely. And the trade deadline is going to be interesting at the deadline. What do you do? We are in a position that we haven't been in a long time. We are not just a contender. We're a favorite to go somewhere. And
Mhm.
whether it's a Super Bowl or another NFC championship game, it's pretty important to keep this machine going. Defense is
Yeah.
playing good, man. Even
This is
without
the
Hutch
best one.
today.
this is the best
like
Lions
this.
team I've ever watched in my whole life.
Right.
I
I
think
was
Mine too.
there
I
in
think that-
2011 when they were 5-0 against the Chicago Bears. I do believe
Yeah.
that was a night game.
Yeah, that was a Monday Night Football game. Yeah, this is the best team in my opinion. Like did people go back to 2014, which I don't think that was a good team, to be honest. 2011 kind of smoke and mirrors because their defense was like the 32 ranked defense, or whatever. But this team right here, I think they're the best. They got the most depth, they got the most talent, and I think even with Hutch out, I mean, they still got pieces that could be like a lot of teams would covet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Josh said something. Me and you were talking about this, Darcy. Do you think the way with Goff is playing, should he be an MVP candidate? Donnie, we didn't get your opinion, so you can give us your opinion, and I'll flash some stats too.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the accuracy. Look at the stats. I mean, I know he doesn't have the stats maybe of a Mahomes, but he's not turning the ball over and he's making plays. Just like you said when he tucked the ball in when the guy was going for the strip. I mean, he's just playing great, man.
I mean,
think
yeah, you
he's
look at
definitely a candidate.
you look at that last 4 games. I mean, 76 for 90, which is 84 completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, 140 QB rating, and then I flashed this stat earlier, and Darcy, it was like, whoa.
That's crazy.
Jared Goff has
isn't it?
posted a passer rating of 140 plus in 3 straight games. He's the 4th player in NFL history to do so, joining Aaron Rodgers in 2011, Kurt Warner in 99, and Roger Staubach in 1971. And I believe someone said in the comments of that tweet that every player then won the MVP. So that's pretty interesting stat.
Wow. It's awesome.
And Taylor didn't have his best game today, guys. Let's
Right.
just face it.
That was a
and
brutal game for Taylor Decker. Yeah,
The blind
go on,
side
Donnie.
has to-
Go on, Donnie.
I was
Blind-
going to say having the other lineman, what's his name? The injured lineman we
Zeiler?
got from Baltimore. Yeah, Zeiler. Having him out was a real surprise. I didn't know he was hurt.
The
So,
ribs, yeah.
Yeah.
The ribs.
Yeah.
That it comes back soon.
Yep. And then Zeiler should be back next week, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
Comments from other people. Stop rushing to come back. That we're not rushing to come back. Just chill out there. But yeah,
No.
you're right. You
No,
guys are
it's
right.
just
Taylor Decker
inside.
did have a pretty awful game.
It's just inside
Yeah, no,
information.
that's what
He'll be on Wednesday, so that's his expertise.
Yeah, if you want to hear
Hutch will
that,
play when
Ted
Hutch
Rath
is
will be
ready.
on Wednesday with Darcy. Oh yeah, no, yeah, for sure. That's how it's gonna go. So yeah, I agree with you guys that Taylor Decker had a rough game today. I thought he had a couple rough games the past couple weeks. I think this is one of his worst years in terms of his play, and we'll see if he can get better because I think he was coming off that foot injury, so I think that's really put something on the spectrum. But I thought it was just a good game for the rest of the line. I thought Sewell had a pretty good game, and I thought the first and fourth quarters I thought they played pretty bad. So the offensive line in general. So I'm interested to see the Pro Football Focus stats that come out tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking will be a really big determinant. But you got any guys? You got any closing thoughts for you guys?
I do. Okay, this is just a little show topic, but don't get mad at me because I bring this up. Let's just switch Taylor Decker around with Penei Sewell. The blind side is a bit. Goff's back is turned to that side. You see, we almost lost 2 fumbles. Fumbles. Thank God Goff landed right there, and he actually had to grab it and pull it back in one time. You guys like that idea?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that if Taylor keeps struggling, we gotta make a move, switch him around. Yeah, I'm on board with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think TJ Lang spoke about this though, Darcy. He said something about like you can't move a guy that's played left tackle and then moving the right tackle. It's gonna be a hard transition.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how that works. But the way Taylor Decker has been playing hasn't been good at all. So something needs to give, in my opinion. So
maybe in the offseason.
That's a good point.
Because we just re-signed him for another 3 years, right? So
right.
Yeah, but I think the contract really opened up money for this year and next year too. That was part of the reason that the contract was signed to extension. So I think that was why. You got any closing thoughts, Donnie?
Not really. Great win today. I know we didn't smash them like we did Dallas, but man, this is big. On the road against a division rival. Let's go Lions, man. Let's keep this machine going. We got this.
And my closing thoughts is pretty simple. We got that was a pretty good win by Detroit. I thought that Detroit played a really, really good game. And honestly, like if we're gonna be totally honest with each other, I thought, what Darcy said earlier in the podcast about started and they didn't play their best game. I thought that was interesting. I vanished for a minute. But I thought that they played pretty good. And here's the thing about Detroit. They got an easy game next week, in my opinion. Tennessee is not a good football team. And the Rams go play Thursday Night Football against the Vikings. So I think this is a chance for you to kind of gain a step up on the Minnesota Vikings. That's why I thought this game was so huge. And the fact that you won it and the advantage that you won it, I thought that was pretty special the way that they won it. 31-29. Jake Bates gets the game winner. That was a pretty damn good kick by him in a clutch moment. It really gives I think it's going to give Dan Campbell a lot of confidence in Jake Bates into kicking big situations because he did it right there and he did a damn good job. So good job by Jake Bates. And then like Darcy said earlier in the podcast, this is something I want to highlight too. The stats were identical to each other, to be honest. Like you look at the stats in conjunction with each other, like everything was pretty much even there. So that's what you like to see from this team. And then look, it's going to be a very, very good week because Detroit won. And I think that the way that they managed the clock, that was a really good effort by Dan Campbell and that coaching staff. So good win by them. And next week, Saturday, I'll be at Three Kings and Sports Cards and Collectibles. I mean, if you guys I know there's a lot of people watching right now. If you are a sports card collector, downtown Detroit's getting their first sports card collectible store downtown, right? Griswold, right behind Woodward, behind the Lululemon store. They're gonna be having a grand opening. They're gonna be doing trade night and everything. So if you want to go down there and watch the Michigan State game, you can go down there and do that. They are like a family member of me. So I always plug them as a sponsor because they're cool. And they're gonna be building me a podcast studio down there so we could do some game day podcasts at Detroit Lions for Detroit Lions games. And second of all, this was a good game by Detroit. Next week is the Tennessee Titans coming to town. They are awful. This should be a great week of preparation, and then hopefully there's no more injuries that would come about. But I'm very excited about this team moving forward, especially with the win today. Darcy and Donnie said the same thing. So, any closing thoughts, guys?
Just, Minnesota is set up just a lot like the Lions. They have a great offensive line. They have really good receivers. The quarterbacks, a good game manager, have a good running game. That was a big time win today, guys. That was big time. We have the tiebreaker right now. That's a division win. We win the division, we get a home playoff game. So I'll see you guys at the Titans game. Usually hang out in front of the Fox Theater, in that parking lot right across from Fox Theater. The Alpha Man's going to be down there. Macho Main's going to be down there. We have TJ Lang stops down there. We have the Chit Chat. Come on down. Let's go Lions. One pride.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining the show. Thanks, Donnie, for joining the show. You guys have the Grit Iron Podcast, which is on Facebook. You guys on YouTube too?
We're going to start that. We're going to start.
All right. Just let me know how you guys want to do it. So
my YouTube is
good.
Detroit Lions News Show. Detroit Lions News Show.
We'll plug that, and then we'll put that in the comments, and we'll plug that today too. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football here on the Detroit Lions News Podcast.